live stream. And I'm back with you. This is Peggy Hall from thehealthyamerican.org. Looks like this afternoon lineup has been heavy into the health and science and medicine aspect of our breaking news. And that's because there is so much to bring to you. And I'm so grateful to have you on board. We are talking about sudden adult death syndrome, SAD or SADS. Doesn't that sound interesting? Remember, they told us about the sudden infant death syndrome? Let me know in a comment below how many of you were on to what that really meant. And anytime I heard about that scenario, the question popped up into my mind: what happened to that child previous to that death? And you know what I'm talking about. I have a lot of questions, and it's always heartbreaking to me, absolutely heartbreaking. I'm going to tell you something as soon as I bring you a message from the sponsor. And it's interesting because God had a plan for me, which was different than my plan. And I'm going to share that with you in just a moment. What I want to do is take just 30 seconds and thank today's sponsor for this video. And we are going on over to ketowithpeggy.com. I've been using this. I'm loving it. I'm feeling so great. And check it out. Many people today struggle to lose weight and to manage their weight. And this is more true than ever after the age of 20. This is because after the age of 20, our body's metabolism slows down by as much as 4% every decade. And that's a major risk to our health. Luckily, there are ways to get that fast metabolism back and do it in time for summer. This amazing keto powder, for example, is helping me lose weight faster than anything that I've tried. It works by increasing the ketone levels inside your body, which in turn support a boosted metabolism. With just a single scoop a day, I am seeing big improvements for my metabolism and weight loss. And thank you, all of you who have commented on that. I've unlocked a deal for you lovely, healthy Americans to get up to 51% off by clicking the link below or by going here to ketowithpeggy.com. And I hope that you will visit there today. Let me get back with you, friends. Years ago, when the needle debate was heating up in California, I was active on the sidelines. This is something that is so heart-wrenching to me. I almost felt and sort of do feel ill-equipped to actually be in the battle from the science and medicine aspect of this. I approach it from the laws and your rights, that even if there existed a medical miracle that allowed you to stay alive until the age of 120 without ever experiencing any disease or illness or cold or flu or anything, in my mind, and not only in my mind, but in the laws of this country, you have the right of no consent to any medical intervention that you don't want. So I have left the discussion and the debate, the controversy, I don't even know why it's controversial, the information, the facts, the evidence, the proof, the medicine, the science. I have left all of that to my colleagues who are well-versed in that. You have never seen me speak about the, you know what, VAERS. I have to say it that way so I don't get a strike. I don't talk about that in public. I have brought some information in my newsletters, which also are being censored. Make sure that you check your spam or trash if you've not heard from me. We are now emailing on Tuesdays and Fridays all of the important info and action steps. So when all of this started to heat up about a year ago or a little bit longer, I remember making a video saying, what is everybody getting all upset about? You're either going to do this medical intervention or you're not, and I'm not going to do it, end of story. I thought that was the end of the story. It was just the beginning of the story. And for the last basically 2 years, my husband and I had been educating people about their rights in educational settings and at the workplace in terms of invoking protections by the law in order to defend yourself, to not have to participate in any medical intervention. Imagine if your boss said, you have to have a hysterectomy, you have to have a vasectomy. In fact, you have to call yourself he and you have to call yourself her. And you're like, wait a minute, these are my choices, my body, my choice. And imagine if your employer was forcing you to do something of a medical intervention against your will. You couldn't work there unless you had a colonoscopy, or, as I say, a vasectomy, or donated a kidney, or if you were pregnant, the employer made you have an abortion. Where does it end? All right. Some of these employers, all the big players, are actually going to pay their employees to travel out of California to murder their babies. So these are the times that we're living in. So I remember telling my husband, Pastor David, this is not a topic I want to talk about. I don't want to get into this aspect of it. I just want to talk about the religious aspect of it, the lawful aspect of it, the aspect related to your rights. I don't want to get into the science and the medicine. However, it's nearly impossible to keep that out of the conversation. And more headlines are coming up that are grabbing my attention that I want to dissect with you, and potentially even bring you information that you may not have heard about. So many people have heard about SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. A perfectly happy, normal, I don't know about happy, but a perfectly normal, healthy baby suddenly dies in the middle of the night. And there were all sorts of interventions of not allowing your baby, your baby had to sleep on its back, and you couldn't have blankets in the crib, and all of these things as a way to avoid the SIDS. And then as people started putting two and two together, which I know you healthy Americans can already put two and two together, and I know what likely was really happening. That's all I can say about that publicly. And now we've got the adult sudden death syndrome, which is as weird and strange as it sounds. You probably have seen some of the headlines. And what I'm going to do is take you over to some headlines. And yes, I am on Giggle, as one of my lovely healthy Americans calls it. And I'm doing that on purpose because this is where most people go, not you lovely healthy Americans, but I want to see what the rest of the world is seeing. So here we are. What is SADS? Healthy people dying from sudden, here you are, sudden arrhythmic death syndrome. And maybe I have it wrong. It's also being called sudden, I'm sorry, I was calling it sudden adult, and here they're calling it sudden arrhythmia death syndrome. And it's saying that it is a threat to children and young adults. So normally healthy children now suddenly are dying. And of course, we're being told that that's not at all linked to the cooties cure whatsoever. It could not be, even though more and more of these cases are happening. And then I did an image search, which was also very interesting. And then stick with me because I've got a couple of prominent individuals that I want to share with you. They did, well, some of them died, some of them didn't, but they had all of these symptoms that we now are seeing. So let's see what kind of hogwash they want to slosh all over us. Yeah, telling you that there is, these are hidden, this isn't really what I wanted to see. There are a lot of great memes that are going around. If you have one for me, you can send that to support@thehealthyamerican.org. Here you go. They're calling it again, sudden adult death syndrome. And then they're calling it sudden arrhythmia death, oh my gosh, death syndrome. And of course, they're telling us that firearms, I already did a video about this. I went to the CDC. In fact, I will show you, I've got it on my YouTube channel, and I did a video all about that. And I showed you the data, and you can see for yourself exactly what that is. I will endeavor to put a link to that video below, so I don't need to spend time searching for it right now. What I do want to show you is information about a couple of notable individuals that are in the news. And so let me share my screen and we will hop right on over and take a look here. It's very sad. It's very troubling to me. So John Fetterman is running for Pennsylvania to be the senator, the US Senator from Pennsylvania. He's a big guy and he's known for wearing these hoodies. And he suffered a stroke and a heart attack just days before the Senate primary. And he says that he's recovering well. Now, I also read, and I didn't have time to grab it for you right now, but I was looking on his Twitter feed and oh, that's a different one. I was looking on his Twitter feed and I found that he is a huge proponent of, you know what, And oh my gosh, you should see, maybe I can try to pull it up. You should see the images of his wife and what they're promoting. And he, of course, did all of this, promoted all of that, and then had a heart attack and a stroke. And he's saying, you know, I think I ignored my doctor's advice from 2017. I really should have followed his advice to keep my heart healthy. So he's saying that this was something from a long time ago. Maybe it was, but it certainly is interesting to me. Isn't it interesting to you? So let's see if we can find him on Twitter, because he is really, oh my gosh, he talks a lot about all of this stuff. And I just find it interesting that, and he's extremely liberal. So here are some of the images. He had a picture of his wife wearing the, you know, t-shirt about, you know, you probably, oh, here we go. Let's see. I don't even really want to get into this. Yeah. Free jabbed mom hugs, and the boy has the equality t-shirt on, and she's got the rainbow. I love rainbows. Nothing wrong with rainbows, if you know what I mean, but are we really going to be pushing these agendas? So he is full on liberal, and everybody has a right to their opinion. I just thought it was very, very interesting, and of course against our Second Amendment rights. And it's interesting that he ended up in the hospital. And of course, it has nothing whatsoever to do with anything other than he should have listened to his doctor. Here's another one. This is a woman, Senator Janine Culkin. Now, prior to about a year ago, her tweets were filled with encouraging people to take the miracle cooties cure, and it was relentless. And she talked about all of the ones that she took. And then, absolutely, this is so sad. Here, actually, let me, well, I can't find it right now. She ended up getting her leg amputated. And she also came down with advanced stage liver disease. I just did a video about these very curious hepatitis cases that are coming out of nowhere, and they can't figure out what it's related to. Now, she is still a senator, and let me see if I can grab that headline for you. And there have, maybe it is on this page. There are other interesting headlines as well. While I was looking for her headline, this is a little hard to see because it's so faint, but I will read it to you. It's talking about all of these other lawmakers that are dying. So a respected lawmaker in Alabama dies. Here it is. A Rhode Island senator has emergency surgery to remove a leg. Well, oh my gosh, that's totally worth it. So you don't get the sniffles or something. You wouldn't want to get the sniffles now, would you? Or maybe a cough. That would be horrible if you had a cough, but take the leg off. And this poor woman also now has like late stage kidney disease, or not kidney disease, liver disease. And that is Janine Culkin. Interestingly, on her Twitter feed, she no longer talks about the miracle cooties cure. I wonder why. Then there were others. Here we go. Another one. So Alabama lost a great leader yesterday. He died at 78. Well, that's a pretty long life, but I don't know. What do you think? And there are others here that, let's see. There are many people dying. Here's another one. Former Kentucky Representative Brett Yance died after fighting the disease. That is so sad. And I'm sure that's exactly what the cause was. And I think he was only 74. No, here he is, 72. That's relatively young. The life expectancy for a man, I think, is older than that. And then there are so many others that I wanted to share with you. Just, you can't help but see the news headlines. I'm sure many of you know, and you probably are far more up to date on this than I am because I don't really watch the news. But here's another one. Ray Liotta, the actor. So he died. I think he's my age, actually. Let's see. When was he born? I think he might be a little older than I am. So yeah, he is a few years, just a few. He's older than I am. But boy, that is so sad. and he died. And then as I was researching the California coastal fire, which I'm going to be bringing more about that to you, I came across this because the fire in Laguna was not too far from El Morro Elementary School. And it says, retiring El Morro elementary principal dies in his sleep. This is so strange. What in the world could be happening? Gee, I actually can't think about what it could be. Principal Chris Duty at 57 was due to retire from his position at El Morro Elementary School. That's not too far from where the fires were. After serving the community for 24 years, he looks pretty darn healthy to me. This is so sad. He was 57 years old. That's young. And he died in his sleep. Is that the sudden adult death syndrome? He wasn't under any doctor's care unless, I don't know, you might have to put the pieces together. Friends, have you heard about this? Do you know people? It is impossible for me to go on Facebook without seeing the heart-wrenching posts from people talking about their loved ones that are passing away, children, nephews, nieces, cousins, spouses, that just suddenly it's like, oh my gosh, they didn't have any disease. They weren't suffering from any illness. There was no car accident. It was not a suicide or anything. They just died. That is so troubling to me. Have you seen that in your social media feeds? Do you know those that are dropping dead without anything that you can actually point to? It's very troubling to me. I want to see where our lovely healthy Americans are here online, and I'm grateful for you being online. And let's see. Love reading your comments, friends. I can't always read them out loud because you are able to give the comments, but I can't really voice them because I don't want to get a strike. So Elizabeth says it's happening everywhere at work. Oh, there was another one, a very famous one. Let me pull this one up again. It was a doctor. Oh, here's another one. Okay. Yeah, this was Jay Goldberg, I think was his name. And yes, here we are. Here's another one. Oh my gosh, I can't even keep up with them all. Here we go. It says, this is so sad. Celebrity doctor dies while hiking in Los Angeles Park. Here we go. 4 days ago. Jay Goldberg, an OBGYN. I wonder if he was telling his patients to do any particular cooties cure. He was found dead Sunday by first responders inside Will Rogers State Park. And apparently he was the doctor for the rich and famous. Here we go. He looked healthy to me. Was it too much of a hike? Was the hike too demanding for him? Now, he's a doctor, so I'll give him a pass on that, you know what, but he died while hiking in a Los Angeles park last weekend. He was found dead. It was determined that he died of a heart attack. Yes, 53-year-olds have heart attacks, but what do you think? What do you think? It's very interesting. And I have heard of more and more of the doctors dying. It's so sad. And it's almost as if they are going to be the sacrifice, meaning some of their patients now might think twice about other medical interventions if they see that their doctor has suddenly died. That's not the only one. I've seen others, and some of these were like heart surgeons and things. You're like, oh my gosh, could you imagine having surgery by a surgeon who dies while they're performing surgery on you? It's kind of like being in a plane with a pilot that dies while he's flying the plane. Gee, I think I'll be taking the train from here on out. And I don't even know about the train conductors, but I do know that I had many of the engineers from Amtrak and Southern Pacific come to me for my help with Pastor David for their religious exemption, and they no longer are requiring that. Glad to say. All right, friends, I'm going to wrap up. What a fun afternoon. We've had a marathon, literally, of talking about the science and the health and the medicine. And as always, I appreciate you being on board. I am here with you in the mornings at 11 a.m. over at my other channel called Living Swell with Peggy Hall. And that is all about positivity and possibility as we move this ship ahead and leave all the tyrants behind, render all those hogwashers and public serpents insignificant, and create a better and brighter future. And I'll be with you every step of the way. See you soon, everybody, right in